I shot every one of them people in their head. They not making it back. My cousin, who was supposed to die, that dude that hit the floor, oh yeah, he died. A lot of people were shot in the head, sir, and woke back up right in front of my face. The people that were supposedly.
Jim and Liz, we have just learned all 5 victims in last night's shooting were men ranging in age from their late teens to their mid-60s. The man who died was just 25 years old. I spoke with his mother tonight, who tells me that her son, John Richard Halliburton III, had just become a new father with a baby girl only 1 month old.
He called his cousin for help. His cousin came, and then he shot him. That's not a rumor. That's not street talk. That's what the surveillance cameras caught. That's what the police report says. And that's what Tramonte Gibson himself admitted to while standing in front of a judge, right before he looked the courtroom dead in the eye and said, "Nobody died." Think about that for a second. 5 people shot, one of them dead, one of them his own blood, his own cousin who dropped everything, grabbed a bag, and came running because family called. And this man stood in a courtroom 2 days later acting like none of it happened, until the very next breath, when he flipped completely and said, "I shot every one of them people in the head. They not making it back. My cousin wasn't supposed to die. Wasn't supposed to die. Like he had a plan. Like there was a version of this where he was going to shoot multiple people, and his cousin was just going to walk away fine." That right there tells you everything you need to know about where Tramonte Gibson's mind was on the evening of March 16th, 2026, in Riviera Beach, Florida. And before we go any further, if you are new here, welcome to Shadow Crime. If this is your first time watching, hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like button, and click that bell icon so you never miss a video. We cover the cases the rest of the world moves past too fast. And this one deserves your full attention. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Riviera Beach is a small city just north of West Palm Beach in Palm Beach County, Florida. It's a tight community. Everybody knows somebody. And on a Monday evening in mid-March, a 20-year-old named Tramonte Gibson was at the Azure Estates apartment complex on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. He wasn't there causing trouble, at least not at first. He was there visiting his girlfriend. Normal evening, normal visit. But at some point, Gibson made his way into the community clubhouse on the property. And that's where things started to shift, because inside that clubhouse, Gibson ran into a group of people. And according to what he later told investigators, those people started harassing him. Now, we don't have full details yet on exactly what was said or done in that clubhouse. What we do know is that whatever happened in there, it lit something inside Tramonte Gibson that he decided he wasn't to let go. Instead of walking away, instead of leaving, going back to his girlfriend, letting it be, Gibson picked up his phone and made a call. He called his cousin, 25-year-old John Halliburton III, and the message was simple. Bring the backpack, the one with the gun inside. And John Halliburton, he came.
Jim and Liz, we have just learned all 5 victims in last night's shooting were men ranging in age from their late teens to their mid-60s. The man who died was just 25 years old. I spoke with his mother tonight, who tells me that her son, John Richard Halliburton III, had just become a new father with a baby girl only 1 month old. This was the scene Monday night, Sky 12 flying over Azure Estates in Riviera Beach after a series of shootings left 1 dead and 4 others hurt. Authorities say this is the man responsible, 20-year-old Tramonte Gibson of West Palm Beach. The man he's accused of killing, someone he referred to as his cousin, 25-year-old John Richard Halliburton III. I spoke with the victim's mother, who says she wants her son to be remembered for who he truly was.
He was not a thug, and what happened to him was not right. My son had a job. He was on vacation. He was supposed to go back to work today, and this is what happened to him.
Police say it started just after 6 p.m. when a fight broke out. Gibson asked his cousin to bring a gun and then, according to authorities, turned it on him.
Gibson stated that he had to get rid of the demons. He proceeded to shoot his cousin Halliburton along with his with other individuals at the location.
Police say Gibson shot multiple people inside the complex, then ran, reportedly attempting a carjacking, and shot 3 more people. He was later stopped along I-95 in St. Lucie County, where authorities say he confessed. But for Halliburton's mother, this is about the son she lost. She says he had just become a father and was supposed to go back to work today. Now she's left with questions.
How can you be so evil? John had a sister, he had a brother who loved him dearly. He was so loved. He was so loved. Lord, he took my baby.
Absolutely heartbreaking. As for Gibson, he's now facing charges of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and armed carjacking, but the investigation is ongoing. Live in the newsroom, I'm Katie Benty, CBS 12 News.
That detail right there should sit with you for a minute. John Halliburton III was 25 years old. He had a job. He was on vacation that week, supposed to go back to work the very next day. And most importantly, he had just become a father. His baby girl was 1 month old. 1 month. She hadn't even had time to learn her father's face yet. And when his cousin called him that evening, John didn't hesitate. He grabbed that backpack and he showed up. Because that's what family does, right? You get a call, you answer it, you show up. Nobody thinks in that moment that showing up is going to be the last thing they ever do. But here's where this story takes a turn that I genuinely did not see coming when I first started digging into this case. John Halliburton did not come to that complex to hurt anyone. The surveillance footage makes that crystal clear. When Gibson got that gun out of the backpack and raised it toward Dillian Wright, pointing it directly at his head at point-blank range, John Halliburton did not cheer him on. He did not stand back and watch. He tried to stop it. His own cousin was about to execute someone right in front of him, and John physically moved in to disarm Gibson. He grabbed at the weapon, trying to pull it away. Now, think about the kind of person that takes. To be standing there in the middle of that chaos, watching your family member lose control, and instead of running, instead of saving yourself, you step in, you put your body in between the gun and the violence because you are trying to prevent something that cannot be undone. John Halliburton tried to be the voice of reason in a moment that had gone completely past reason, and Gibson shot him multiple times. John was found between 2 buildings at that complex with multiple gunshot wounds. By the time help arrived, there was nothing anyone could do. He was pronounced dead at the scene. A 25-year-old father of a 1-month-old baby girl, gone, killed by the same cousin he came to help. His mother, Curtisa Brown, spoke to reporters shortly after, and her words have stayed with me since I read them. She said her son was not a thug. She made sure people knew that. She said he had a job. He was on vacation. He was supposed to go back to work the next morning. She was not going to let her son's name get swallowed up by the story of what Tramonte Gibson did, and she was right to fight for that, because John Halliburton's story deserves to be told separately from Gibson's rage. He was not a casualty of the streets. He was a young father who answered a family call and died trying to do the right thing in the worst possible moment. But Gibson wasn't done. After shooting Wright and killing his own cousin inside those apartment grounds, ShotSpotter had already detected around 18 rounds fired at the complex. Gibson didn't stop to process what he had just done. He didn't freeze. He ran, and the violence ran with him. He made it outside the complex and onto the surrounding streets, where he approached a Mercedes SUV. The driver, a man named James Easley, had no connection to anything that happened inside Azure States. He was just there. Wrong place, completely wrong time. Gibson shot him multiple times and tried to take his vehicle. 2 more men, Anthony Evans and Charles Daniels, were also shot during the stretch of chaos outside the complex. Both of them somehow managed to drive themselves to St. Mary's Medical Center. Think about that. Shot, bleeding, and still finding a way to get themselves help. The will to survive in those moments is something that is hard to fully wrap your head around. And then there was Rommel Kajina Lira. Gibson approached him at gunpoint, forced him out of his Chevrolet Silverado, and took off in it. Rommel was not shot, but being forced out of your car at gunpoint while someone who just killed a man takes your vehicle is not something you just shake off and go home from. 5 victims in total. 1 dead. for others fighting for their lives or standing in pure shock on the side of a Florida street, while a man drove away in a stolen truck on I-95.
First-degree murder, capital crime, carjacking, firearm, punishable by life. Four counts of several first-degree murders, firearm, also punished by life. What was it? Possession of firearm by community felon?
I did not see any of that counts. Your Honor,
I see that on the, this page here. You don't see it on the.
I don't see it on the booking either.
Okay, so we're just dealing with the counts I said, capital, robbery.
It's contained in the narrative. I don't know why it's not contained in the booking. So, but regardless, Your Honor, all of these counts are capital or punishable by life. The state is asking the court to hold the defendant without bond. I have written 2 no contact orders for the same case because there's so many victims.
Well, no contact with any witnesses, no contact with family members of the deceased, no contact with any of the actual victims who are thankfully still alive.
Thank you, Your Honor. And they are all listed on these no contact orders. And of course, no weapons.
Again, they're all either capital crime or crime punishable by life imprisonment. That's anything.
If we reserve our rights for hearing later time.
Are you gonna be,
What our office has in conflicts will be the fine. I
told
advise
Mr. Gibson
that.
Mr. Gibson, right now the public
How you
defender,
doing, sir?
doing good. Public defender represents you right now, and said they're gonna submit an order later.
Can I say something before we start?
Not in your best interest. For you to say it. I'm not gonna stop you, but it's not in your best interest.
Okay.
Just step back from the microphone a little bit.
Okay. So, sir.
It's getting feedback. That's better.
How you doing, sir? So my problem is I be seeing things, sir. So I'm in the courtroom, sir. All the police that I be seeing, they don't be coming to open the door for me. Well, it's one of the police that's in the room last night. He was actually a good person. Sir, I be fighting things that y'all cannot see. So therefore, how can you put someone in jail that's fighting something that you can't see? When I was on the highway driving, it's 3 cars. What's the devil's number? 6, right? It's 3 cars. Every time I went hitting speed, I'm at a speed limit. I see 3 cars every time I hit the gas. Ain't no cars on the road. It's just me. It's 3 cars that pop up. 1, 2, 3, then it's 1, 2, 3 again, right? Okay. The people that were supposed to be killed, they didn't die. Nobody died. Obviously, right?
Well, one person did. You do have one count.
Nah, nobody died, sir.
I'm just.
You want me to show you how?
No, I'm just.
I shot every one of them people. Nah, shut up, man. Let me talk. I can't talk to the judge, bro.
Everything you're saying is being recorded.
Okay, let me talk then. If it's been recorded, then it's been recorded. I shot every one of them people in their head. They're not making it back. My cousin, he was supposed to die. That dude that hit the floor, oh yeah, he died. A lot of people were shot in the head, sir. And went back up, right in front of my face. So, therefore, how the can you wake back up in front of my face after I shoot you? How are you gonna wake back up? Please tell me, sir. That's impossible. You cannot wake back up after somebody shoots you in your head. And if you check that camera, you can tell that these people are with me. I'm chilling to myself, sir, right? I'm chilling on the bench with my cousin Elmo, right? Okay, so why you keep talking to me and not letting me talk to him? I can't even hear you, sir. I can't hear you.
Against you at a later trial.
No, it can't be used against me because I'm talking what I can, what my heart need to tell whoever listening, bro.
You need to tell that to your attorney when they get
Man, okay, let me talk. Okay, I don't even need you, sir. I ain't gonna lie to you. I do not need you.
I'm trying to protect your
Please,
rights.
I don't need. Can you please tell him shut up, Judge, please? I can't even talk. He's not even.
He's trying
Thank you, sir.
He's trying to give you advice.
But, sir, I'm fighting something I can't even see. I see it at night. I see it now looking at you. I don't know how to fight it, sir.
Mr. Gibson, what I can tell you is that your attorney that you're going to get from ORC.
Okay, you know, camera, sir. I'm sorry.
The attorney that you're going to get can file motions to determine whether you're, number one, competent to stand trial, or whether you were competent at the time. And that's the time that you should be discussing these issues. You shouldn't be discussing them now.
When I was in Stony Brook, sir, and I had that gun, that wasn't my gun, first off. That's Sir, I don't care, because I'm speaking the truth in my heart. I don't care about shit you saying, I don't care. I'm talking to that dude right there, the judge right there, I'm talking to him. I'm not worried about that, what nobody's saying. I'm talking to him. I need to get this off my heart.
Mr. Gibson, we're going to be done for now. So you don't have any bond, you don't have an attorney.
The charges stacked against Tramonte Gibson are serious enough to change the entire trajectory of what remains of his life. He is facing first-degree premeditated murder for the death of John Halliburton III, 4 count of attempted first-degree murder with a firearm for the victims who survived, 2 counts of carjacking with a firearm, and 1 count of felon in possession of firearm. Because remember, he already had a prior case on his record, which means he had no legal right to be holding that weapon in the first place. Under Florida law, first-degree murder is a capital felony. That means the conversation about whether prosecutors pursue the death penalty is already on the table. If they go that route, it triggers separate penalty phase proceedings entirely. And with the mental competency question now floating over this entire case, this legal process is going to be long, complicated, and deeply watched by everyone in Palm Beach County and beyond. But I want to step away from the legal side for a moment, because the law is going to do whatever the law does. What I keep coming back to, what I think a lot of you are probably sitting with right now, is John Halliburton. This man was 25 years old. He had a 1-month-old daughter at home. 1 month. That little girl is never going to have a memory of her father. She is going to grow up hearing stories about who he was, looking at pictures, watching videos if they exist, trying to piece together a person she never got the chance to actually know. And the reason for that is because her father answered a phone call from family and did the right thing when it mattered most. Curtisa Brown, John's mother, made sure the world understood who her son was. She did not let his name get buried under Gibson's story. She stood in front of reporters and she said, clearly, he was not a thug. He had a job. He was on vacation. He was a father. He was a son. He was somebody who showed up when called and tried to stop something terrible from happening. And that is exactly who he was in his final moments on this earth. That is the part of this case that does not get resolved in a courtroom. No verdict brings John Halliburton back. No sentence gives his daughter a father. No amount of legal proceedings tells that 1-month-old girl who her dad was as a human being. That loss is permanent. And it started with 1 phone call on a Monday evening that should never have been made. Now here is what I need you to sit with as we close this out. Tramonte Gibson called his cousin because he felt disrespected. That is ultimately what this comes down to, a feeling, a moment of harassment in a clubhouse that could have ended with him simply walking out the door and going back to his girlfriend. Instead, he weaponized his own family. He used John as a delivery system for violence, and then turned the gun on him the second John tried to introduce any conscience into situation. What does that tell us about the way some people process conflict? What does it tell us about the line between feeling disrespected and deciding that the response to that disrespect is irreversible violence? And here's a question that genuinely haunts me about this case. If Gibson truly believed he was seeing demons, truly believed something was chasing him, truly could not separate reality from whatever was happening inside his mind, then at what point did the system fail to catch that before 5 people got shot on a Monday evening in Florida? Was there a version of this that could have been prevented? Were there signs that people around Gibson saw and did not know what to do with? Or was this a man who knew exactly what he was doing and is now leaning on mental illness as the only exit left available to him? Those are the questions this case is going to force everyone to answer. The courts, the family, the community, and honestly, all of us watching from the outside trying to make sense of something that may never fully make sense. John Halliburton III deserved to go home that evening. He deserved to wake up the next morning, go back to work, and come home to a 1-month-old daughter who needed her father. That did not happen. And the reason it did not happen is something that is going to follow Tramonte Gibson for the rest of his life. Whether he spends that life in a prison cell or whether a Florida jury eventually decides he forfeits it entirely. This case is still developing. As new details come out, we will be right here covering every update. If this video hit you the way this case hit me, please take 2 seconds right now, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this story. And if you're not subscribed to Shadow Crime yet, do it right now and click that bell so you never miss a single upload. John Halliburton's story deserves to be heard. Make sure it is.